Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation and Happy New Year! In 2022, Hasbro gave us a plethora of Peter Parkers. Today, I'm counting down my picks for the top 10. Keep in mind that this is all personal opinion and based only on figures I actually own, so some figures like the cel-shaded version are unfortunately not on my list. Also, some of the figures on the list are ones I actually never got around to reviewing, but don't worry, I've included a mini review of those figures right here. And now, without further ado, here's my top 10 Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures of 2022. Number 10. SpiderMan War. This figure comes in a windowless box, does have some cool artwork from the movie on the side, and some digital renders on the back. I do like how colorful and similar to the movie the background is, but the box isn't really anything special. As for the figure itself, it's a lot of reuse of the What If Star-Lord, and therein lies my first problem. While the figure's mostly fine, a lot of the details are just downright wrong. Most notably the shirt and the boots. That said, the coat's pretty epic, and I really like the tampon gray dots, but in terms of accessories, all he comes with is a single pistol and a head without a hat, yet he has two gun-holding hands. This is a holdover from Star-Lord, but they could have at least included a fist or something, preferably a Rubik's Cube. Instead, he came with Spider-Ham. Not even a new Spider-Ham, just an objectively worse painted one. If they'd switched the body out for a new pose, that might have been cool, and I'm happy to finally add him to our Into the Spider-Verse collection, but at almost $30, this old-timey Spider-Man needed to be just a bit more new. Number 9. Retrocard Reilly. This figure's a repaint of the previous year's Retrocard Spidey and does have a lot going for it. For fans of the character who missed out on the original or just prefer this look, it's a great pickup. That said, if you saw my verses, you'd know I just plain prefer this one. The larger eyes and ganglier proportions just better fit my image of the character. This segues perfectly into number 8, Retrocard Symbiote Spidey. Just like I associate Ben Reilly with big eyes and smaller proportions, I associate Symbiote Spidey with bigger proportions and smaller eyes. After all, the symbiote did make him stronger, so he should be a bit beefier. He does lose points for not being pinless because we know that one's coming and we're gonna have to buy him all over again, but honestly, if this was my last symbiote Spidey, I'd be pretty darn happy. Oddly enough, it's not the last time we're gonna be seeing a symbiote Spidey on this list. Number 7. Spider-Man from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. First things first, I do love this box. It's a wonderful tribute to the opening of the series. I also love how they have Spidey crawling up and down the sides of the box like on the intro of the show. On the back we see everything we get, but for this video I'm mainly going to be focusing on Spider-Man. Mainly. This figure was made on the new Amazing Fantasy 15 body, so he's a bit smaller and his proportions are a bit slighter than, say, the Retrocard. A lot of people might be put off by that, but honestly I don't mind. Not having him be super shredded makes him look more like an actual person in a costume. The colors are bright and the joints are pinless. As far as Spidey himself is concerned, the only real downside is that he has the holes from the web wings on Amazing Fantasy 15. Otherwise, in terms of accessories, he does come with fists, whippy hands, and wall-crawling hands. Unfortunately, he also comes with his amazing friends, and therein lies the tragedy of this box set. Angelica's been given some Shriek upgrades since the last time we saw her. That includes bicep swivel, double-jointed elbows, and just all-around pinless joints. The problem is that the last time we saw her was only last year. Had I known this was coming, I would have never bought this. I should probably mention that the original release also had this head sculpt, I just can't find mine. And speaking of things I would have never otherwise bought, what on earth is going on with this Iceman? Not only is he on the Pizza Spidey body, which is just a bizarre choice, but he has one of the ugliest heads I've ever seen, and for some reason is cel-shaded even though the other figures aren't. The only thing that redeems this $75 set is Spidey himself, and I really struggled over whether to put this lower on the list, but if you missed out on the original Firestar, or want what could be the definitive Marvel Legends Spidey, I think it is still worth it. And on the subject of the definitive Spidey, that brings us to number 6, Renew Your Vows from the Spinneret 2-pack. This is a hot take a lot of you won't agree with, but I'm actually not that crazy about this figure. Don't get me wrong, I get why people want it. It's great for people who missed out on Retro Spidey and does have pinless joints and toe articulation. He's got the big eyes and the wider apart web lines a lot of people prefer. He also comes with a lot more accessories. Objectively, he's an improvement on Retro Spidey in almost every way. That's also part of my problem. You might feel he's an improvement on this, and that's fine, but he's not exactly new. Pinless joints and extra articulation is the only thing that separates these two figures, and I just complained about getting them back to back. If you missed out on Retro, I get it, but honestly, I still kinda like this one better. I prefer the smaller eyes and the tighter webs and the blue that they used. If you like this one better, I'm not gonna try to take that away from you, but compared to this Retro, Renew Your Vows wasn't enough to renew my interest. Number 5. The Bombastic Bagman. At this point, you probably think I'm insane. How could I possibly put this over this? It's actually quite simple. I have a lot of classic style Spider-Man figures. So many that I did a whole video on them. But you know what I don't have? Bagman. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the only one ever made. There's not much special about the figure itself. It's mainly just the Walgreens Reed Richards with a new head and bare feet, although Bagman does have a hole in his back that Reed doesn't. But hey, Reed's just Pizza Spidey with a new head and torso, so proportion-wise he looks great. I have seen online where some people do this, and it is pretty cool. But for me, the paper bag head is part of what makes this figure so fun. For example, being able to put it on other figures who should really be hiding their face in shame. And then you've got the removable Kick Me sign, which you can also put on other figures. Toys are supposed to be fun, and this is some of the most fun I've had with a Spidey figure in a very long time. Number 4. The Iron Spider. This is one I've been waiting for a long time, and honestly, there's a lot to love. For an extensive look at this figure, check out my video on it, but let me take a moment to hit some of the highlights. I love the fact that he's a new sculpt with pinless joints, and the Waldos are pretty cool. He loses points, unfortunately, because the Waldos could be a bit more articulated, and they unfortunately cannot support his weight. Additionally, while the marbleized plastic looks good, it's also a bit inconsistent and would have benefited from a complete paint job. In general, I love the figure, but there's just enough wrong to keep me from putting it higher on the list. And please do try not to have a civil war about it in the comments. Number 3. The Retrocard Web Armor. While Iron Spider was a great effort, this one really sticks the landing. First of all, it tickles my heartstrings with this animated series style blister card, complete with a list of all the other figures we can collect. They didn't cheap out or cut any corners, but they did give us a 100% new sculpt. And unlike the Iron Spider, the metallic armor is actually painted. There's honestly a lot more detail here than there needs to be. So much great texture on the armor and the bodysuit. Flipping them around, I love what they did with the spider on the back. Moving on down, we got some nice knee pads and shin guards, and the whole thing is pinless. Articulation-wise, the range is decent, and accessory-wise, in addition to fists, he also comes with whip hands and a couple of web splats. Of course, if you have a Peter Parker head, that fits on just fine. If you're curious how he scales with other standard Spidey bodies, here you go. And if you're curious how he scales with other armored Spideys, well, here you go. And since this was before the price hike, all this was available for only $22. Now that I have him, I seriously regret not picking him up sooner. Number 2. Spider-Man. I love the Japanese Spider-Man series, and I love this figure. Never in a million years is this something I thought we'd get. Even the windowless box, which I normally hate, kinda won me over. They included the Japanese Spider-Man logo down here, as well as the Japanese characters up here, art that actually emulates the show, some gorgeous art on the side, and a really cool background for the render. Had I done a full review, this package actually would have gotten 1 whole point. And if you've seen me talk about these in other videos, you know that doesn't really happen. As for the figure itself, and similar to Bagman, it reuses Reed Richards' torso. The arms, legs, and head are new, and are pinless. While we're down here, I love that they gave him the white soles for his feet. The colors are vibrant, the painted details are very crisp, and they did a great job on the gauntlet. If you were curious, the Ben Reilly web shooters do fit over the wrists, giving me hope that maybe this year we'll see a Nicholas Hammond. Speaking of accessories, in addition to relaxed hands, he also comes with a pair of fists, a web line, or as he would say, spider string, and the web splats that we just saw with the armored Spidey, or as he would call them, spider nets. I can't wait to see him with the No Way Home set we're getting this year, but in the meantime, here's what we got so far. And once again, for a basic Spidey body comparison, here you go. He might be an emissary from hell, but as far as I'm concerned, this Japanese Spider-Man is heavenly. Before I reveal my pick for number 1, I do want to showcase one honorable mention, Ultimate Symbiote Spider-Man from the Amazon 5-pack. On its own, it's a solid little figure based on the Ultimate Spider-Man body, and after so many years, it's kinda nice to see Ultimate Spider-Man get a little bit of love again. True to the comic, he's been cast in a marbleized purple plastic, and if you don't have the Marvel Select Venom, you could use the Life Foundation 3-pack Riot in a pinch. If he was a single release, he might have made it onto the top 10, but but he wasn't. He was part of a $127 Amazon exclusive 5-pack. Had I not been able to snag it for $85 on Cyber Monday, I would have never gotten it at all. Included in the box set is a really good Molten Man that's mainly just a reuse of Sunfire and the Human Torch, SilverMane, which is another character I wanted for years but looks nothing like the comic and is mainly just a reuse of Ultimate Beetle, and lastly Razorback and the Human Fly, which are fun additions but not exactly characters I was looking for. Fun fact, the Human Fly was Stan Lee's original pitch for Spider-Man after he saw a fly crawling up a wall. In addition to the price tag and the lazy reuse for SilverMane, my biggest problem with this set is the fact that these characters don't go together. Molten Man is a moderately well-known classic Spidey villain that I've been wanting for a while. SilverMane is about as 90s as you can get, and these two are so obscure that it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of fans hadn't heard of them at all. And then you cap it off with a Spider-Man from a completely different universe that never once even met any of them. It's like they took 5 random figures that they knew would never sell on their own and just slapped them in a box. Ah well, I did want a few of them and did get it for a good price. And hey, he does come with all the requisite Spidey hands, so what can I say but Hakuna Matata. And the #1 Spider-Man Marvel Legend of 2022, Amazing Fantasy 15. If you saw my verses, you'd know I prefer the more detailed sculpt of the original Toy Biz version, but bang for buck, you can't beat this figure. Not only does it feature an all-new, super articulated body, he comes with 8 hands, a web line, and 2 sets of web wings. Given some of the other figures we've looked at, the value on this Spider-Man is through the roof, making 15 my #1 of 22. Agree? Disagree? Sound off in the comments below and share your picks. For another top 10 Spider-Man video, check out this one, or for another Spider-Man video in general, click here. I'll be back again real soon with more top 10s for 2022. Until then, play nice and have fun.